The sun is shining and the race is on. Roxy here, world famous racer, live from Bricktopia, where tensions between the legends and all-star teams are heating up down at the Minifigure Speedway. If you prefer designing more than racing, head down to our Ferrari build and race facility, where you can model the next generation of super slick cars. At the end of a tough day of racing, hang up your driving wheel and head on over to our local cinema, now showing movies in 4D. The sky's the limit here in Bricktopia. Welcome back to another episode of Legoland's Best Land, the series where I go land by land around the Legoland Windsor Resort, trying to once and for all say with absolute certainty, no arguments, what is Legoland's best land. Be sure to subscribe now if you want to make sure you don't miss a single episode as we go land by land, and at the end of the series, review all the areas once and for all, put them in a sort of a tier ranking, and be able to define what is Legoland's best land. This is the second episode in the series. If you want to check out the first episode, it's obviously already on the internet.
Hence, this is the second, not the first episode.
We started off in Lego City, and in this episode, we're heading to Bricktopia, which is a slightly stranger land, as you will see as we discuss it in this episode. So a little context about Bricktopia. This area was originally called Imagination Center, and then it got rethemed to Bricktopia when the Minifigure Speedway opened in 2024. This area of the park has seen quite a few changes over the years, not just the addition of Minifigure Speedway, but we've lost some rides and attractions along the way as well, which we will be getting into.
And it will make me cry.
Let's start with the headline attraction, Minifigure Speedway. This is a dueling roller coaster manufactured by Zera, and it is an impressive spectacle. With that being said, I have very mixed thoughts on this ride. If you've seen some of my vlogs, I'm never the most complimentary of this attraction. Very mixed thoughts, but this is a good place to dive into them a little deeper today. So number one, let's start with some good stuff. As I said, an impressive spectacle. It's on this hillside where the raft races used to be, rest in peace. That used to be my big brother's favorite ride, actually, these water slides which got you absolutely soaked at the bottom. With that being said, this was obviously a good replacement. They definitely plussed this area of the park when they did that. It wasn't the biggest loss in the world to lose those raft races. It would have been if they'd got rid of them and not replaced them or anything, but they replaced them with two, big, large capacity roller coasters. From down in Duplo Valley, it looks good seeing these two roller coasters dueling each other on the hillside, and sort of being underneath it as well, sort of closer to the ride itself, standing under this huge theming piece they have, Roxy, who was very kind enough to do the intro of this video for us today. It is an impressive roller coaster to look at, or roller coasters, I should say, to look at. I would also say the ride experience itself has grown on me a little bit. I go through swings with backward-facing rides and motion sickness on some spinning stuff, or as I said, mainly going backwards on roller coasters. Sometimes I'm fine, sometimes I'm not. I guess it depends if it's like a really hot day and I've not been drinking enough water or something. But for this video, when I re-rode Minifigure Speedway, as I said, for this video, I actually enjoyed my time. I didn't feel too ill at the end of the ride in the backward section. It is an intense backward section, I will say. This ain't no kiddie Vekoma boomerang. There's actually pulls quite a few G's on some of those corners coming backwards. So a little intense for kids. Speaking of which, another good thing about this ride, I looked up for this video, obviously did some more research on the area. It has a 1.05 meter height restriction, which means it's pretty accessible for a lot of kids of a lot of ages. That's not a particularly massive height requirement. That's always a good thing when as many people as possible can enjoy an attraction, which means, you don't have crying kids, but also you can, just have more people soaked up in this area of the park being able to enjoy it, as opposed to it being just for the older kids. Also, in general, it's great to have dueling roller coasters in this country. I want to say these are the only dueling roller coasters we have. Yeah. So that's always impressive, riding and, you come face to face with the other riders as they're swinging towards you and you're swinging the other way. I say swinging, you're gliding over the top of this little hill in the middle of the ride is sort of the standout section of the ride, I think. When there's this little hill, little crest, and both the trains kind of meet in the middle and you can kind of wave at each other and stuff. So that's cool. Also, I think the theme of the ride is fun in general. This idea that we've got this big race on today, and you're either joining Team Legends or Team All-Stars. And yeah, that depends what color train you're on, if you're going to be on the blue or orange train or the blue or red side of the track. There's a little pre-show with Roxy where she tells you all about the race and Team All-Stars and Team Legends and who's being the captain of what team today, etc, etc. Which is fun, right? I mean, you don't really need to do that. Like, a dueling coaster speaks for itself. Like, that is the fun gimmick. And yet they still went to the trouble of making a little pre-show for it, so that's nice. It is just a screen though, that pre-show. I don't know if you guys have seen the new Galacticoaster, which has just come to Legoland Florida and is going to open in California's Legoland as well. But they have the first proper animatronic at a Lego park, who's like kind of fully articulated as minifigures can be. So it would be fun if they could go back and make a Roxy minifigure, but I don't think they'll do that now. It's too late. They won't want to bother spending money on it. So those are all the things I like about Minifigure Speedway. Now we have to get into the messy business,
which is how much I hate it.
The first issue, which isn't as bad as the second issue I have, is the operations. I don't know what goes on with this roller coaster. In theory, it should be like a very quick, big, easy moving queue. You know, you've got 2 roller coaster trains, and they're relatively long coaster trains. Should be being dispatched every 2 minutes, maybe 3 minutes. It does not feel like that when you're in that queue line. There's not even that much queue line to go through, but it can feel really painful. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I've just been really incredibly unlucky. I don't know. Maybe everyone else has a very different experience, and I'm just always going on the unlucky days where everything's going wrong or the team's feeling incredibly unenthusiastic. That being said, for this video, funnily enough, I actually think the ops were pretty solid. Which was, I think, the first time I've ever thought that about Minifigure Speedway for the filming of this video. That being said as well, though, like the week before, I went for February half term with my friend Rob in a full vlog we did, and the operations were not good. Feel free to check out that vlog and you can see the minutiae of where it was going wrong. I was like, what is happening? Why are the dispatches so slow? But that really shows you it can be a mixed bag with this one. But as I said, in complete fairness, it was a little better for this episode when I went to film, so maybe that's a good sign for the upcoming season. Maybe they thought, yep, let's get a proper pit stop crew. I want my team to be like Luigi and Guido, you know. I want my guys to go dispatch. But number 2, and definitely my biggest gripe, is the finish for this ride. The way they landscaped it is hideous, to be completely honest. Last season and the season before, they had this orange and blue tarp up on the fences, the ride area fences, which made it look really ugly and cheap, and I actually think just made it look like it was still a construction zone, even though it was a fully functioning ride. I just think this looks cheap. This doesn't look good. I still think they need to do more with this hillside. I mean, this just looks like it's a construction site. Ugh. Thankfully, they have taken it down for this season, and already it feels a little less cheap around there. But unfortunately, the actual landscaping is still gross. They really didn't make an effort to put a lot of greenery down here. It just looks kind of rubbly and like a desert where nothing grows. And like, you could have gone either way with this. You could have either tarmacked it all to look like a proper racetrack down below, which would have been fine, and maybe like for immediate results a better option that it would have looked good from day one. You could have had some actual racetrack markings down on the hillside on the floor and stuff, which you could have done quite easily. Or the second option you have is to put loads of greenery in there, and yeah, it won't look the best to begin with, but long term, like if you have a tree which grows up in the middle of, you know, one of the corners or something, that'll look really awesome, you know, in times to come. Maybe thematically doesn't make too much sense with a racetrack, but then that being said, there are racetracks which are still full of nice lush verdure on the outside of the track, so could have worked. Yeah, but they didn't go for either. So here I am saying, please can I have this or this. We didn't get either of those things. You had the ride hardware, plant some trees, plant some greenery, you know? I mean, like, look at the vampire. I saw some old archive footage of that the other day. And when that first got built, like, it really didn't have too much greenery around it at all. And obviously now you think, like, that's sort of the best bit of the ride is the fact you're swinging through all these trees, you know? You've got to invest. You have to think long-term investments. I don't think think that really happened when it came to the landscaping of this ride, unfortunately. My third issue with Minifigure Speedway is the queue line. I think it looks cheap and tacky, and they've also put this kind of like canvas roof over the top of the main cattle pen section of the queue line, and that doesn't look good either. And it's not really a proper job. If you're going to put a roof on something, you should do it properly, and that is really not what that is. Yeah, it's not the best. It's cool at some points in the queue. You get a nice view overlooking the ride itself. But yeah, it's just messy, and also you have these theming little characters, little minifigures, but they're the new style of theming, the style I don't like, which is when it looks cheaper. It's not made of actual bricks, it's just kind of sheets of plastic, molded around something. I'm no expert on plastic. I don't know exactly how it works, but you know what I mean when I put on like the screen comparison of what I prefer the real bricked models compared to these cheap ones. And I said in my most recent vlog, like, it's just funny, you look at the dragon, that banquet section, the dark ride section at the start was made of only brick models. And it stood the test of time. I think that's one of the best roller coasters in the country. And then we've got Minifigure Speedway on the other side of the park, where you've just got a few of these cheap little minifigure pieces. And yeah, the Roxy statue in general is impressive. I'm not saying you needed to make that of bricks, because maybe that would have been a little overkill. I don't mind the new style of theming. I just prefer the old actual brick-made models, right? Like, you're at Legoland, you want to see things made of Lego. Also, like, a lot of the queue is vinyls on walls and stuff like that. Same in the pre-show section and the station. Like, it doesn't look as quality as it could have done. From what I've heard, they're opening one of these at Legoland Billund this season, and apparently it's going to be like an actual carbon copy of the current Minifigure Speedway. So I'll be curious to see if any of the finish is better for that one. And I am going to Legoland Billund, which I think I said in last week's episode as well. So make sure you subscribe if you would like to check that out when I go this summer. Although that actually will be kind of depressing, because that ride is replacing their Viking River Splash they had there, and I loved Viking River Splash at Legoland Windsor. That was a childhood classic of mine, and I really enjoyed it when I went to Legoland Billund 3 or 4 years ago, I want to say, maybe a little longer now. I really enjoyed their Viking River Splash as well, so it's sad that is now no more, and unfortunately the Minifigure Speedway has replaced that. Okay, so another attraction they have in this area is the Ferrari Race and Build experience. That's its actual name. This is cool. I like this. I think any area with extra little walkthroughs or kind of interactive things to do is cool. I'll be saying that the same when we get to the Lego Mythica area episode. I will be glazing the mythical forest or whatever it's called. I love a walkthrough. I think that's what makes like Disneyland Paris, is the fact it's very much the king of walkthroughs. There's walkthroughs in every area for you to enjoy in the middle of a busy day. And it's the same with this. The Ferrari Race and Build thing isn't made for me, really. I'm not the target demographic. It's incredibly cool to see that Ferrari model at the start, the actual car. That's very cool, and they've got some history on the walls and stuff, which is nice. Like, I do enjoy my F1 as well, so, that's cool to read about. The actual main section is, as I said, very much for kids to build their own little cars and race them down ramps and stuff. But I know if I was a kid, I would have found that very fun. This hasn't been here forever and ever. This is very much more of a newer investment in recenter years. As I said, this wasn't here when I was a kid, but I know if I had been a kid when this was here, I would have enjoyed this a lot. I also think it's really nice that like the area very much encourages playing with your builds instead of just building for the sake of building. It's like very much you're building with the goal of playing. And I guess I don't want to get all Toy Story 5 on us, but with technology and stuff, I guess kids don't play with physical things as much as they used to, as opposed to engaging with screens. So it's really nice that you have this area where you can, as I said, build these race cars and play with them and, put them down these slopes and stuff to see how fast they'll go. That seems like a lot of fun to me. Okay, it's time to talk about LEGO Studios 4D. This is an interesting one. It's a 4D experience, as you would guess from being called LEGO Studios 4D. This has very much been here since I was a kid, and you can tell in the venue. The venue's always felt slightly temporary. It's kind of got a tent roof on it kind of thing. It's like, feels like it's kind of outdoor with walls, if that makes sense. Like, it's an indoor theatre, but it feels like, as I said, yeah, the kind of thing you just temporarily construct, and yet somehow it's lasted the test of time. I used to enjoy doing this a lot as a kid, but I think the appeal of 4D cinemas was much greater back then as something, very unique and quirky. I remember there used to be a Lego Knights sort of show where the good knights would take on the bad knights or whatever, and I used to love that so much because Knights Kingdom was always sort of my favourite area growing up, and I guess maybe still is. I wouldn't say it's the best land. We haven't got that far in the series yet. We're going to have to analyse all the areas, but it's still like a favourite of mine. It's a nice place to spend time, as you'll see in the episode. But yeah, I remember that film and loving it, and like it's very much a formative memory of like those kind of jump scare moments when something comes out at you at the 3D screen as a child. You're like, what on earth? That was that for me. That was my formative 4D experience, was seeing that show when I was younger. And they've always had a good variety of shows in here. They're always switching out new shows and stuff, because I guess they produce it for a Legoland theme park and then you're able to put it in all the Legoland theme parks. They're not really very wordy, many of these shows, so that they can play to the international audiences at all the different Legos around the world. But yeah, the films are okay. The effects are good in there, I would say. Like, you have a very loud snow machine. They have some fire bars at the front, which will sometimes pop out flames. On my most recent trip, it wasn't working. He said at the start of the show, yeah, just to let you know, there's going to be no fire or water. I was like, oh, okay, I'm really glad I came in here today for this 3D show with a little bit of a snowstorm halfway through. Like, if you're going to see a 4D show, you want all the effects working, right? Especially in this day and age where screens are bigger and bigger. It's not as impressive to just watch a big screen anymore. You're going to need those 4D effects to wow you a little bit more. The biggest issue this theatre have is the fact, as I said, it feels very temporary. You just sit on like wooden bars. There's no backrests or anything. However, this is all changing, as that theatre is being knocked down and replaced with a new proper purpose-built theatre, which will be using the Skyriders stations area as well. We will get on to the Skyrider and my feelings on that. I think this is a good investment. Like, you do need to plus this theatre because it doesn't look the best on the inside, and I said it doesn't feel the best to be sat on these wooden panels. However, I don't know if it was an investment that needed to be made, in the respect of, I don't know if a 4D cinema is cutting edge technology, nor do I think that it really belongs as much as it once did in this park. Now we have stuff like the Lego Ninjago ride, which is all screens, although I don't love the Ninjago ride. And also the Lego Mythica ride, which very much does take you on a, fully immersive screen-based journey. I will say, in fairness, it's good that this ride is not a ride, or I should say this attraction is not a ride, so people who are like scared of heights or whatever, so wouldn't want to do Mythica, still can enjoy, the 4D effects of a Mythica type ride, the Skyline ride, without having to confront their fear of heights. So I think that is a good thing in general. I also think logistically makes sense for the park that they know they already have these films in the can. Like, they're going to produce these Lego films anyway for the other parks, so why not have a fresher modern theatre to show them in? And in general, this area has received more guests, visitors in its sort of location. I'll get on to the location of the land and how that hinders the area a bit. But with Minifigure Speedway, when that was built, it's brought more people into this area of the land. So I guess now people are there, then it's good that they are showing more love to the area in general, now that there's more foot traffic in that area thanks to Minifigure Speedway. To summarise, I like that they are going back to an older attraction and plussing it. I like the fact Legoland has done this with this, what was the Imagination Centre or Imagination Zone, whatever it was called, and now, it's been shown love. But I just think it's weird to be spending money on a 4D cinema there, when with that space you could do something a little more quirky, interesting, different, unique. But yet again, that being said, on a busy summer's day, I could definitely see myself being more likely to go, you know what, I'm going to go to that 4D cinema if I know it's going to have like proper backrests. I can just relax for a little bit, in a nice quality theatre, as opposed to at the moment where I can't say I'm thinking on a busy summer's day I really want to sit on that kind of awkward no backrest seats where it's as I said it's not enclosed properly. It's more of a tent structure. So yeah, this is no bad thing. I just think it's a weird / interesting decision. There are things I would have spent money on first, is what I'm saying, as opposed to plussing this. But it's nice that it is happening. I want to give credit to Legoland for doing this. I now do need to talk about the past. And I have to mention the Skyrider. This was obviously a childhood classic, closed a few seasons ago. I don't think anyone was particularly happy about this. Was a tracked ride which went around the Imagination Centre zone, which was Bricktopia, or has become Bricktopia, and had nice views over Miniland as well. Did always get quite a bit of a queue actually, but that's because it had quite a small throughput. In general, this saddens me because like in last week's episode I said I enjoy the fact in Lego City we have a lot of kinetic energy, a lot of ride vehicles moving around. I like the fact the Legoland Express goes around the outside. And, this was a ride which did go around the area, around the outside as it were, in the same way Safari Skyway used to at Chesington World of Adventures. It's sad to see another one of these go. They're the type of rides I always enjoy doing on a busier day when I just want to do something a little slower, take it easy. As I said, have a nice aerial view, and being in an area like sitting outside with an ice cream, watching these rides go around is always just like a nice way to spend a summer's day or something. So yeah, it is sad that we lost the Skyrider. It's very sad. And we also lost the Space Towers, although that was quite a few seasons ago now, which was a little pulley drop tower. That Space Towers one, there wasn't really a great excuse because they've not replaced it with anything. It's just like now a dormant little space there. And the Skyrider, I know they're claiming it's to make room for a bigger theatre because they're using the Skyrider space, but are they really using the Sky? I mean, maybe the station just about, but I can't help but feel there could have been a way to make a big theatre still, a proper purpose-built theatre there, and keep the Skyride. I think they just thought, I don't know, maybe it was coming to the end of its life, they couldn't be bothered to replace parts or whatever, I'm not sure. But I don't think that's really a good enough excuse. I think they could have found a way, surely. So we got chapter 2 here, food and beverage. There is only one food and beverage unit, as far as I'm aware, inside this area, and that is a Ben & Jerry's scoop shop. This is nice. I've had quite a few Ben & Jerry's from here over my time, and I feel like it's relatively affordable. I want to say you get your 20% off in there as well. At least they did when I last went in there, whenever that may have been. Yeah, I know, always good to have ice cream on a nice hot days out. It is a shame that we lost Molies. We lost Molies. I think that's what it was called, just Molies. So in the Imagination Zone as well, or Centre Bricktopia, I should say, you have these little mole figures. It's kind of an iconic little theming piece, and you also have the mole pole, #mole which has been there since I was a kid too. And you had Molies, which, as I said, was this ice cream shop, with the theming of the moles continuing. But that's no longer with us. It's just the generic Ben & Jerry's, unfortunately. I will say this is actually one of the more pleasant places to have an ice cream as well. Because it feels like it's slightly shaded. There's a few trees in that area. As I said, like I'm imagining on a hot, busy day, the rest of the park's like incredibly busy. If you try and get an ice cream from in Lego City or Heart Lake City, it's like incredibly hard maybe to find a bench or something. As I said, it's crowded, it's loud, whatever. If you want to just like take yourself away, have a bit of a relax, get yourself an ice cream, as I said, sit in the sun with a little bit of shade. There's a nice bit of greenery inside the middle of the zone, as I said, not at Minifigure Speedway, but in the middle of the land itself in Bricktopia outside the theatre. There's some nice shade. This is a great place to be. And I said, so good they have this ice cream shop. Do they need an actual restaurant? Maybe like a little cafe type spot or somewhere. I'm not saying it has to be a huge restaurant, but somewhere you could get an actual savory meal or just like a savory food stand of some kind could be nice. as your next nearest one would be down in Duplo Valley at Farmer Joe's, which is a little way away. Or you'd have to go up the hill back to the beginning, and they've got like a Legoland Coffee Co. company shop. Co is company, Max. Co is company. They've got like a coffee shop up there, right, which you can get some food from. But yeah, I mean, it would be nice if they had it doesn't have to be a huge restaurant, but as I said, a savoury food spot could be good here. We've now got chapter 3, entertainment, and is there some? Kind of. I guess the fact that we have the theatre, but I've put that under an attraction. I would say 4D cinema is an attraction more than it is entertainment, on the base that entertainment for me would be like live actors. Is a part of entertainment, and that's not what you get at the 4D cinema. So I would probably say no, they don't have entertainment. That being said, sometimes I've walked through this area and seen meet and greets going on with minifigure characters. So, you know, characters in these costumes. I feel like I've seen Lord Vampire here once, maybe even Hot Dog Guy. I don't know, maybe. But yeah, I can't say it's the most regular occurrence ever when I'm walking through here and I see people dressed up as the minifigures. I think it has happened. I've seen it happening in this area, but I would like to see a lot more of it. The thing with Bricktopia is because it has this mismatch of themes and it doesn't know exactly what it is, surely then it lends itself perfectly to this idea that you could have whatever characters you want appear here. And you've already got like a whole host of minifigure type characters, which are now part of the minifigure Speedway lore. Or just Roxy herself. Forget about the subsidiary characters. Just have Roxy always meeting and greeting in Bricktopia. And it's just a nice place to do it. As I said, it's good vibes on that hillside. It's a relaxed vibe. I think that'd be really great if they had more meet and greets. I think they do happen. I don't know how much they were happening last season after Merlin cut a lot of their entertainment budget. And, well, they don't do entertainment anymore. They now contracted in. But yes, let's please just have more meet and greets going on with minifigure characters in those costumes, please, Legoland. That would be much appreciated. And talking, about the mismatch of themes as well. It's like with the Lego shows, they've got all sorts of different brands going on in there. You've got some Mythica shows going on. There's a Lego Dreams show. I don't really know that product line very well, but you've got a Lego City show. Oh, and I think there's a Lego Friends show as well. Yet again, why can't, when you leave the theatre, it's like,
it's the character from the show we just watched. Look, oh yeah, let's go meet, you know.
Maximus the Sky Lion. If you can't meet Big Thunder Maximus, then make the most of the Sky Lion instead. The second best Maximus I know. I could talk about meet and greets all day long and the lack of them in the Merlin parks, but that's enough for this week. We'll have more of that next week, I'm sure. I'm going to start by actually mentioning something which the website argues is an attraction. I wouldn't go that far because it can't be enjoyed by the general public, but they have the Legoland Learning Academy. This is where schools can book to, I guess, do some sort of physics-based, sciencey stuff with Lego for their schools. That's a great thing that Legoland do. Yeah, I've never done it at Legoland.
And I guess I never will now.
But yeah, that's good that they've got that space there. Well, it's a shame that we don't have it open for general public as well to go and play with on a weekend. You know, kids who weren't lucky enough to be taken to Legoland on a school trip. It's a shame they can't go on the weekend with their parents and do that. Like I say, I don't know what they're doing now, if it's playing with robot Lego figures, you know, or whatever. But yeah, it's a shame they don't open that up on weekends to the general public. Other amenities include toilets and lockers and a water fountain all next to each other, which is good. Any area with this kind of stuff is always a plus in my books. They also have a little car driving kind of pay-to-play game. I don't love pay-to-play games, but that's there. And they've got a little shack, which I've not seen used since opening year for Minifigure Speedway. It was selling Minifigure Speedway merch that year. I've not seen it open since then. Maybe I'm going at the wrong times, but in general, it doesn't seem to be open much. So it's a shame they don't have that little stall open to sell some Minifigure Speedway merch. They should do that. Come on, you know, it's a busy ride. Why not have a little shop outside the front where you can make some money, Lego? We do now need to talk about the actual quality of life here, and there is a real issue which I've sort of alluded to a few times, and that is the fact that it is, of course, on a hillside. This leads to a few issues, mainly one I experienced the other day for the filming of this video. I was riding Fairy Tale Brook, as I always do, because I love that ride, and then I saw on the app that Minifigure Speedway had just reopened after a closure, so I thought, well, you know, I'm not too far away, I better rush up there. But even from Duplo Valley, like, it takes you a good kind of 5 minutes or so, 5-10 minutes. It's got to get up that hill. And Duplo Valley is basically the nearest land to, you know, this area, Bricktopia, except maybe Miniland. And so by the time I got there, like, there was a big queue anyway, so I used my Platinum Pass fast track, which they're giving out for Platinum Pass holders at the moment, to ride Minifigure Speedway instead of just like getting on it straight away, because I thought like I'm close enough that I should be at the front. So yeah, you know, it's always an issue getting up this hill. The other issue with this leads to is in the middle of the day, if you go there and like you see it's a half an hour queue on the app, so like, it's only half an hour, I'm going to go to Minifigure Speedway. You get there, it's too busy, because it's kind of in no man's land being at the top of this hillside, and there's not really like an area which is super close by. You then find yourself having to just join the queue. You either go, okay, I'm going to join the queue, or you go, okay, I have to go back down the hill, and I've wasted like 15-20 minutes of my day, like 7 minutes up the hill and 7 minutes back down again. It's not too bad for me. Like, there isn't too much of a complaint on my part as an adult. But I can understand with kids that would probably get very jarring, like taking your kids up the hill and then like, oh no, the queue's too big, I gotta take them back down. Or as I said, you get to the top of the hill, you see Minifigure Speedway's got a big queue, but you think, well, we're here now, we may as well just do it, because there's not many other rides and attractions in that area. It's not like, oh, Minifigure Speedway's got a big queue, but no worries, there's X ride next door, and that's not too busy, like if the Sky Rider was still there. You know, they do have the cinema and they have the Ferrari rooms, so that's cool. You know, you could do that instead theoretically, but like if the cinema shows just started as well, then it's only really the Ferrari thing, so not the best. You know, it'd be good if they had another attraction, like high throughput, easy to get on attraction. So if you do get up to Minifigure Speedway and it does have too big a queue, you can always fall back and do that instead. Like at Disneyland Paris, you know, maybe you see Peter Pan has just reopened, and so you're like, I'm going to go there as fast as I can because it's only on a 15-minute queue according to the app. And then you get there and then you're like, oh, it's gone up to a 2-hour queue. There's plenty of rides in Fantasyland which you can get on like pretty easily, like the Storybook Boats, Le Pays de Conte de Fées, or It's a Small World, for example, with its huge throughput. You don't really have that in this area, as I said. Like, if the Minifigure Speedway is a no-go, then the whole area is kind of a no-go, is the main issue with this area. That being said, I will say, because it's on the hillside, it offers some nice views, looking over Miniland and just, like, the park in general. And Legoland has, like, quite a nice bit of greenery as you look down upon it. So, you know, it's a nice place to be, and that's what I was saying about having an ice cream. It's a good place to hang out in general, and it's never too busy as a land, which, as I said, also leads to just being a nice place to chill in the middle of the day. Chapter 5, Atmosphere and Theming. This is one which I've kind of touched on there in amenities and quality of life. The atmosphere is good if you like a more quieter, subdued area to just chill out in. Maybe that's not what you're looking for all day. Sometimes you want a really lively, buzzing area. That's not what this area is, but I think theme parks should have just as many areas like this for every busy area. So as I said, great place to hang out, which is great atmosphere-wise. A little more lively now at the Minifigure Speedway, I will say that. I think it's kind of struck a good balance now where there are some crowds coming into this area, but it's not like overwhelming. Unfortunately, when it comes to theming, I do have to mention some things which make me very sad, which is the loss of the dinosaur. Who remembers the massive dinosaur? Let me know if you have fond memories in the comments of the big dinosaur, which was on the side of where the Ferrari building is now. Yet again, it feels like one of those where we lost something and didn't get like a worthwhile replacement. That was a great theming piece, which is no longer with us, sadly. Same goes for the Space Towers and Skyrider, both rides which added to, you know, just like the niceness of the area. And like the Skyrider was one of those rides which didn't add like crazy, like ugly, busy crowds or like huge motion like a loud roller coaster. It's just like a very sweet, gentle, slow ride in the sky. Yet again, something you could enjoy off-ride as well, just watching it go around. We lost that, you know, atmosphere-wise, which isn't the best. I will say on the positives for theming, I do like there's quite a few models around this area which are built with actual bricks. Like also I feel like there was a giraffe which recently got a new one which got put in, which looks good. I don't know how recent that was, but that feels newer in my head when I look back on my years of visiting Legoland. And it feels like they've freshened up one of the older giraffes as well. And there's like this new woman figure I saw, like serving hot dogs and stuff, which me and Rob were joking about in our vlog. He said she's
He's very efficient, and we do like an efficient roller coaster, just like we like an efficient member of staff who is serving many trays at once.
And I like the fact that they went for a quality model with her, as I said, built with actual bricks, because then mismatched at Minifigure Speedway, as much as I think the story of Minifigure Speedway is cool, whatever, we've got this race day, etc, etc, as I said, I find the theming is a little cheap, and I don't like the fact the figures aren't made of actual Lego bricks. Or even if you had the minifigures not made of actual bricks, but you had, I don't know, like more like race cars, or just like, you know, theming which you'd relate with a racetrack made of actual Lego bricks, that would be a good compromise. But we don't have that really. There's no real standout models. As I said, you've got Roxy, and I appreciate that Merlin have this thing where they like to put just like a massive centerpiece, like, you know, Big Bob at Wicker Man, or the Jumanji statue, I'm trying to think, the Jaguar Shrine, that's what it's called, or Tiger Rock. You know, they like just spending all them, or Croc Drop as well, they like spending all their money on one centerpiece, and don't bother too much with the rest of the theming. I will say, in fairness, I do think the theming in these areas is still good. I think all the rides I just mentioned is good theming in general. But as I said, they like to just spend all their money, or most of their money, on a big centerpiece, and kind of you will just go for more minimal theming around the rest of the ride or area or whatever it is. That's very much the case with this Minifigure Speedway. It's an impressive figure, Roxy, but yeah, I would like it a lot more if there was more Lego models to enjoy around the ride and its queue line. Let's talk about the theme in general of Bricktopia. This is a weird one, right? What is Bricktopia? It's not exactly clear to me. I guess what I'm imagining is just like a society of Lego, a brick society, Bricktopia, you know, a utopian Lego society. But that means you don't really have like a definitive theme of what that is that you can fully immerse yourself in. I mean, also, like, we kind of have racing as a thing, because we've got the Ferrari building and we've got Minifigure Speedway, but they obviously don't go fully in on the racing theme, because we have the Lego Theatre, which isn't racing. You know, if you had a theatre show which was only a racing show, then you could have, you know, leaned more heavily into the racing theme and given the area a title more fitting for that. Whether Bricktopia doesn't really signal anything to me. It's kind of like a meaningless name for a land, right? It sounds kind of cool, but it's ultimately meaningless in what it's saying about its theme, except that it's just a mismatch of everything really as a brick society. The issue with a theme like this as well is it's never going to be as immersive as something like the Knight's Kingdom. I said a similar thing about Lego City, but at least that knows exactly what it is, whether you don't have that with Bricktopia. My issue with Lego City was the fact that a city is not a compelling theme compared to a Knight's Kingdom or a Pirate Shores or a Mythica. Whether this is just like it's not a theme full stop, it's just a meaningless word, Bricktopia. So it's very much a land which isn't sure what it is. However, I don't think that's a terrible thing, in the respect of it could just be that area you chill out and there is a little mismatch. And as I said, if you went heavy on the meet and greets and you said it's Bricktopia is in a society of all different Lego figures who hang out here, and you know, they go to the Speedway to watch a race, and then they'll go to the cinema or after work or whatever, you know, or something like that, that would be fine. But you need these meet and greets going on, and you know, I said, you come out the show, you can meet one of the characters from the show you just saw, or you can meet the Minifigure Speedway characters. I know they've done the odd meet and greet there, but let's have that more going on. It would also just help with the atmosphere in general as well as the theme. So this section of the video would be, you know, Bricktopia would be well up there when it comes to this ranking, if it got those things implemented. Okay, we made it. Final thoughts. I will always mourn the Skyrider, as I would have mentioned at least 10 times this video. It's always sad to see a slow track ride get taken out and then not replaced. I don't think they needed to replace it with the theatre. I think they could have found a way to have both. I do think it's good that they've got this new theatre coming in. I don't think it's a bad investment. I just think it's a weird investment, but also financially does make sense. As I said, if you have these films already made at other parks, then why not have a nice place to display them? Also, with Universal Great Britain or Universal London, whatever it's going to be called, now coming to the UK, You know, these parks want to be looking to go 365 to try and compete with them, to have a proper theatre which is purpose-built and warmer on the inside as opposed to the tent which is currently there. That does make sense as well. So I don't think it's a bad investment, just a weird one, as I've said many a time. Minifigure Speedway is slightly growing on me, as I said. The more time I spend around it, the more I feel a little happier about it. I'm glad they brought down those tarps this year, the ugly tarps on that fencing. But please, Lego, please, 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 don't prove I'm right. No, not the time for Sabrina. This is serious. Please, Lego, please, please, please. Put some greenery around the Minifigure Speedway, or as I said, tarmac the bottom and put racing track lines and stuff down there. Just one of the two, I don't mind which, please just finish off that ride. But as I said, in general, this is a nice place to be. It's a pleasant place to spend some time at the LEGOLAND Windsor Resort. If it's a busy day, head to Bricktopia, you know? I think it's a cool place to hang out with Ben and Jerry's, watching the Sky Rider. Oh, the flashbacks! Watching Minifigure Speedway, or as I said, enjoying the models. There's some greenery around the actual area, not Minifigure Speedway. It's a nice place to be. And with that being said, we are done. Thank you very much for watching this episode of Legoland's Best Land. Next time, we'll be heading to the Kingdom of the Pharaohs. So if you would like to see that, and me talk about how I think they misuse Johnny Thunder as a character at the Legoland Windsor Resort, then make sure you subscribe so you see that episode. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.